Hello, I'm Caroline Fairchild, and welcome to LinkedIn News Live, where the business conversation begins with you. Jeff Bezos and 3 civilians launched into space earlier this morning aboard Blue Origin's rocket, New Shepard. They landed safely in the West Texas desert after 10 minutes of flight. This comes after Richard Branson's successful trip aboard his own ship. Here for details is news editor Jessica Hartog. Jessica, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Caroline.
All right, so the trip was a success. I think the jury is still out on if that cowboy hat that Jeff Bezos was wearing was a success as well. But tell us the latest. What do we know about this ship and what happened this morning?
Well, as you know, today's date coincided with the date of the moon landing in 1969, something that Jeff Bezos has always said really affected him as a child and made him dream of one day being able to go up to space himself. And as he got up to space today with his fellow passengers, you could hear him whooping with joy. He was so excited. He landed, as you said, the experience lasted about 10 minutes. He landed safely back on Earth along with his passengers. They were greeted by their crew, by their family. Everyone was hugging, opening champagne. It was really fantastic to watch.
An exciting moment for a lot of people. And Jessica, what do we know about the New Shepard? What is this experience like? What is the ship itself like?
Well, the New Shepard is more of a classic rocket experience versus the Virgin Galactic rocket. It launches from the ground with a vertical blast-off that accelerates at about 3 times the force of the Earth's gravity. And once it reaches the correct altitude, the capsule separates from the boosters we saw today. And it's at this point that the astronauts experience the weightlessness and they can float around and they see the curvature of the Earth. The booster then lands safely back to Earth and the capsule follows shortly. And again, as we saw today, the capsule is slowed down by about 3 or 4 large parachutes as it lands back on Earth. And today's Blue Origin flight was actually the 16th flight for Blue Origin, but the first one to carry humans. And on board of today's flight was, of course, Jeff Bezos, his brother Mark Bezos, Wally Funk, an 82-year-old female aviator, and Oliver Damon, an 18-year-old Dutch student. The latter two both set records today, being the oldest and youngest person to ever go into space.
And I'm sure a lot of people are looking at this launch, Jessica, and are asking themselves the question, when can I get up there as well? So has Blue Origin started selling tickets? What do we know in terms about this actually becoming the space tourism landscape that so many people are talking about right now?
So Blue Origin has yet to announce a date or a ticket price to open to the public. But let's not forget that this mysterious winner who won the original ticket that Oliver Damon then ended up taking, paid $28 million to go up in space along with Jeff Bezos. So tickets, to say the least, are not expected to be very cheap. So while we do not have any numbers for Blue Origin, we do know that about 600 people have bought tickets to fly on Virgin Galactic spaceship.
And what I think is so interesting, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on is one of those 600 people who bought tickets for Virgin Galactic was your father. Is that true? Is he headed to space soon?
Yes, so my father did indeed buy a ticket. He was convinced by one of my closest friends who joined Virgin Galactic right after college and convinced my father that it would be a great way to celebrate his 60th birthday. Now, my father's 60th birthday was about 8 years ago, so he'll be closer to 70 when he goes up, but we are hoping that he will be on a spaceship next summer.
And I guess the follow-up question I'm sure everyone in the stream is wondering is how much did he pay for that ticket?
Well, I don't know the exact amount, but he is part of the Pioneer Group. So it's the first 100 people to buy Virgin Galactic tickets. And those went for about $200,000, I believe. The next batch went for about $250,000. And then obviously after the incident in 2014, Virgin Galactic stopped selling tickets. But I've been told that the next release of tickets will be much more expensive than the previous. So we'll have to wait and see. And Caroline, I will, of course, hopefully be in New Mexico next summer watching my father go up to space, hopefully coming back down. So I would love for you to join me there and we can chat.
Yeah, we can have a chat maybe live from Texas with your dad going up into space. I would love that. It sounds like your dad may have gotten a deal on that ticket. So good for him if you can even call it a deal. But Jessica, thank you so much for this context and for joining us on LinkedIn News Live.
Thank you, Caroline.
All right, that's Jessica Hartog. She's news editor for us here at LinkedIn. I want to bring in our next guest. His name is Tabor McCullum. He's the founder and co-CEO of Space Perspective, a human spaceflight company committed to fundamentally changing people's views and perception of Earth. Tabor, welcome to LinkedIn News Live.
Thank you.
And I hear a birthday celebration is in order. You were 5 years old when Neil Armstrong went on the moon, and Jeff Bezos just went into space to celebrate your birthday as well. So happy birthday, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you. It was an awesome 5th birthday watching the moon landing. And of course, today was great too. So it was a fantastic flight that Blue Origin accomplished. It's an amazing team effort that puts, does a human flight like that. And from our perspective, it went really smooth, a super professional group. So we're thrilled with what they pulled off today. It's really great.
And Tabor, this must just be such a momentous moment for you to see this happen. Your history is just so rich in flight. Your father was an astronomer. Your grandfather helped build propellers for the Wright brothers. And now you're trying to get Space Perspective off the ground. For those in the stream who are not familiar with your company, tell us a little bit about the company and how the experience to space is a little bit different than what we saw this morning.
Thank you. So we're making space accessible to people by taking away the rocket, essentially. We use a very large balloon, like what's shown behind me, to slowly go to the edge of space with a habitat below that has 9 people inside, a pilot and 8 passengers. And so the idea is to really get that quintessential astronaut experience of looking out at the curvature of the Earth in the black sky. The whole voyage is 6 hours or so, 2 hours to slowly ascend up to 30 kilometers, stay there for a couple of hours, and then slowly descend back down under a balloon. So it's a very graceful, elegant way to have this thrilling experience of seeing the Earth from the edge of space.
And I know that it's a technicality, but I read this morning that the balloon doesn't actually reach NASA's definition of space. So talk to us a little bit about that technicality and what actually can you see from this balloon?
Sure. So first off, there really isn't an agreed to where does space begin. Nobody in the federal government actually has a where does space begin. They give astronaut wings at 80 kilometers. And I think really everybody sort of has to have their own definition. So for us, it's if you're above 99% of the Earth's atmosphere, that last 1% goes out past the space station, 1,000 miles, you're, for all intents and purposes, in space. And so that's where we are at about 30 kilometers. And you can see the curvature of the Earth, the black sky. It's a pretty indistinguishable view from 90 kilometers or 100 kilometers. It's that space experience that is really so compelling.
Well, Tabor, I'm seeing a lot of members in the stream joining us right now and wanting to hear more about this space experience, perhaps even purchase tickets. We have Patricia from California, Anna from Romania, Tracy from Texas, and Michael from New Jersey. And if you're just joining us here on LinkedIn News Live, we're here with Tabor McCullum. He's the co-CEO, and founder of Space Perspective. It's a space tourism company that's trying to get people up into space via the balloon that you see in Tabor's background right now by 2024. So if you have questions about anything space tourism, let us know in the stream and we'll get those questions answered on the show. Tabor, let's break down brass tacks here. $125,000 a ticket is what you're putting tickets out there for right now. How did you arrive at that number, and who is actually booking tickets right now?
So, the number is the one that you back into between what are the costs of operating, the development cost, and what does the market look like. So we decided to do an initial offering that was sort of in that middle bracket. And we've had an amazing response. You can go online to spaceperspective.com and put a refundable deposit down for a ticket. And we've had almost 400 deposits now. So it's really proven to us that we have a good price and a product that is really in demand. So we're 2/3 of the way now to where Virgin is in ticket sales, and we've only had tickets on sale for a few months.
And you've said in previous interviews that once these ticket prices get to, say, around $100,000, you've said that the market is just gigantic for consumers who want to purchase this. But I think there are probably a lot of people joining us in the stream saying, who can actually afford these tickets? And when you say the market is gigantic, how gigantic is it? I saw some estimates from Bank of America that the industry is valued at $450 billion, projecting to grow to $1.4 trillion. These are big numbers. Who are these people that are going up into space? It's not me. And what is the experience like that they're trying to get after?
So, it's really interesting. We did a market study that put the total addressable market at about 250 billion. Cowen has said something more like 700. Virgin Galactic has said 500 billion. So regardless, it's a huge market. And, these are people with, it's a huge variety of people. It's people who are clearly saving up to afford a ticket. And it's people who have, plenty of disposable income to put the ticket down now. It's an amazing variety of people. We thought we would sort of be, just like early adopters, that people who desperately want to go to space. And we're finding people who want to take all their friends. About half of our tickets are people booking an entire habitat for 8 people to fly. And people who want to get married in space, people who are sort of bucket listers, they've retired, millennials. It's a huge variety of people that want to go, and they all want to go for a wide variety of reasons. But I think the common element is people want to see the Earth on which they live. It's one of the most profound and transformative experiences I think that we can have in our lifetime. So it's really compelling. A lot of people finding lots of different reasons and ways to go.
It's compelling, it's exciting, but of course there are some people out there wondering, is it safe? And what I think is so interesting about Space Perspective is that the technology that you're utilizing in these balloons isn't exactly new. Walk us through a little bit about how you got and arrived to Space Perspective, some of the former companies that you founded, and where you are right now in terms of saying, hey, we're going to be able to do this by 2024.
Sure. So I think a lot of this really began at the Biosphere 2 project. Jane Pointer and myself were on that project doing design development work, and then crew members for 2 years. And when we compare our experience of being in our own biosphere to an astronaut's experience of seeing the Earth's biosphere, it turned out to be a really quite parallel experience. And so we were really interested in offering that experience. We started a company called Paragon Space Development Corporation that's doing great, that does life support work. We started a company called Worldview that is doing a lot of remote sensing with stratospheric balloons. And now with Space Perspective, we're taking the step of making this a human flight system. In there, we also flew Alan Eustace to 136,000 feet under a balloon. So we have manned ballooning background, life support, habitat background, ballooning background, really all coming together to build Space Perspective.
And Tabor, I'm seeing a question in the stream right now from Kunal. He wants to know, is this more environmentally friendly than, say, a rocket? How does the experience compare when you think about its impact on the Earth that now passengers are going to be able to see looking down?
So it's a carbon neutral experience. The balloon itself is recycled. The capsule is reused. We actually fill the balloon with hydrogen, which does take energy to make the hydrogen, but we compensate for that with carbon offsets. So we are carbon neutral and environmentally neutral from the very beginning. There's no exhaust going into the stratosphere. So one of the really compelling aspects of this is making this an environmentally friendly way to go to the edge of space.
And I think there's a lot of environmental concerns, but also your friends, if you want to call them that. I know that you've done some advising with Branson. Branson and Bezos have received a lot of flack for just taking taxpayer money to fund these type of ventures. In your mind, how is this good for the economy? For those who are joining us in the stream and are wondering, there's a lot of problems in the world. Why are these billionaires investing all this money in these space experiences? Is that really where the money should go? How is this going to benefit the economy long term in your mind?
Well, I saw a funny cartoon yesterday that had the Wright brothers taking off and 2 people commenting about these rich people off with their toys, right? This is how we spur on new technology. This is how we inspire people to be better stewards of the Earth, to get into science and technology. These are really important aspects of building a future. And, it's easy to diss this as something that is only for the rich, but it's really how we build sort of revolutions in perception, and how we change the way people see the Earth is through commercial projects like this. And we're doing a lot of work with Space for Humanity, for example, in order to provide access to people from all walks of life to have this experience, not just the people that can afford it now.
Well, Taylor, before I let you go, I see many people joining us in the stream right now who are probably looking to take advantage of this growing economy, maybe want to work in it, maybe want to go into space travel themselves. Your background is so interesting. You didn't go to college or have any really formal training in science or engineering. Any advice for those joining us who maybe have an unconventional background as well and want to get into the space business?
Well, I had a lot of formal training. I just didn't bother to sort of get a degree in the end. So took a lot of coursework, worked with a lot of professors, a lot of tutoring. So there's a lot of different ways to get that formal background and get the discipline of science and engineering besides getting a degree. I think the key to that is really learning a lot, being very disciplined in how you develop the skills and techniques in science and technology, and then doing what you're passionate about.
Great advice. Tabor, happy birthday again. Thank you so much for joining us on LinkedIn News Live. And hopefully we'll have you back here maybe in 2024, maybe before that, to hear more insights on what you're working on.
Awesome. Thank you very much. This has been great.
That was Tabor McCullum. He's from Space Perspective, giving us a breakdown of what the space tourism economy could look like moving forward. All right, so as the commercialization of the Earth becomes more prominent, of course, so will the jobs. That's what we're here to discuss with our next guest. Her name is Stella Weng. She's a research data analyst at Thinknum. Stella, welcome to LinkedIn News Live.
Hi, Caroline. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we're all about jobs here on LinkedIn, as you know, and you just did some research in terms of finding where the job opportunities are moving forward in this space. Break down a little bit what your research found.
So we, at Thinknum, we're like a service provider of what is called term data online. So we, since business activities have shifted to online, so we track if companies are hiring and how they're doing when we can make this data usable for over 300 investment firms and corporations. So we track job listings directly from the company's websites, and we found that the commercial space industry is actually exploding. Job listings for SpaceX, for example, increased 75% year over year, and for Blue Origin, it increased 8%, and Virgin Galactic is up by 132% over the last year.
And when you say that these job postings are up, Stella, what exactly are these jobs for? Are they in a variety of different functions, or is there one that's really exploding? Break that down for us.
Yeah. So we found in our job listing data, over 50% of all the jobs in all three companies are actually engineering jobs, which is not surprising. But outside of that, we found that for SpaceX, for example, the jobs are spread across launch teams, production teams, and supply chain management. For Blue Origin, it's actually beefing up their corporate structures. We found that they're hiring for jobs such as corporate recruiter, a director of corporate strategy. They're also hiring for legal counsels and, of course, a sales director. And then one very interesting job positions that we found for Virgin Galactic is called Astronaut Relation Director. It's a fixed contract position with maternity leave. And then it sits in with the astronaut office, which is responsible for engaging and informing the customers who will be the future astronauts, and they take care of the engagement and communications.
And Stella, do we have a sense yet of kind of the industries that people are leaving to come into these jobs? What kind of talent, what kind of skills are necessary in order to enter this burgeoning industry?
I think, since more than half of the job positions are engineering, of course, you're going to be graduating from the universities with a degree in engineering to have the required skills to join a team. But of course, another important factor that we spotted from the job listing data is that you've got to have very good communication skills. We see that there is a demand in the market for commercial space trips, and for very, very wealthy people, I can see that they're lining up to jump on the space trip. So it's very important to communicate to them, engage them, and then I think it's important for them to learn a little bit and get trained And here's where this, for example, relation director comes in.
Well, you mentioned just the growing demand right now for trips into space, and there are a bunch of estimates, as we were just talking with Taper, about just how large the industry is. Yes. Some are valuing it as 415 billion according to Bank of America right now. Anything else in the data that shows you where this growth is coming from?
Yeah, we can get the job listing data granular to like city level to where these jobs are located. For example, according to Virgin Galactic websites, these job positions are mostly based in their headquarters in Mojave, California, or Las Cruces, New Mexico. But for like SpaceX jobs, they're mainly in Hawthorne, California, with some in Brownsville, Texas. For Blue Origin, jobs are mostly in Merritt Island, Florida, which is outside of their headquarters in Kent, Washington.
So maybe not the remote job offerings that we're seeing exploding both on and off LinkedIn, but some good opportunities in these local economies. Stella, I see lots of people in the stream thanking you for breaking down these job postings. Maybe we'll get more applicants after the show, and we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem. This is great. Thank you, Caroline.
That was Stella Weng. She's a data analyst at Thinknum. I want to thank everyone for joining us on the show. I see a lot of you are very excited about the future of space travel. And if you want to continue this conversation, you can do so by going to the news module, which is to the right of your LinkedIn feed. Or if you're in mobile, you can click into that search box. Thursday, I'll be back with you on LinkedIn News Live at 3 Eastern to have a conversation with my friend Anu Dugal of the Female Founders Fund and Kate Ryder, CEO of the fertility startup Maven. We'll talk about the future of female entrepreneurship and why investing in women is more important now than ever. I'm Caroline Fairchild. Thanks so much for joining us on LinkedIn News Live.